Today I'm sharing some stories of paranormal activity taking place in apartment buildings. Now, make sure to listen to the end because I'll be sharing a personal first-hand account with all of you. So let's jump right in. I'm your host James, and these are the top 10 evil entities people encountered in apartment blocks. And we're starting off with a story shared to Reddit from user RavensShadow2013. Love that name. Here they describe an encounter they had with a dark entity they refer to as the Blue Lady. My oldest sister used to live in a rental that, while babysitting my sister and I, would tell us to stay away from the basement door. One day my sister's curiosity got the better of her and she talked me into opening the door. Standing at the top of the stairs was what we used to call a Blue Lady. I was 7-ish, she was 5-ish. Later on, our older sister told us that the Blue Lady would wander the house at night, humming some sort of nursery lullaby. So yeah, I don't know what it is about lullabies or just singing or humming in general, but there's something so unsettling about hearing something like that at night coming from somewhere in the house. Even if it is not even paranormal, just waking up to the sound of someone in your house humming Twinkle Twinkle Little Star themselves alone in the dark sends a bit of a shiver down my spine. Next up we have the hallway entity. Now, there's not a whole lot of info about the story surrounding this video. It's just a security camera piece of footage of some kind of ghostly attack taking place. We see a man walking down what looks to be an empty apartment hallway. You see this black shadowy shape start to form, which sends the man falling to the floor before it starts dragging him down the hallway. Now, this video could totally be fake. I mean, it's not out of the question to pull off a hoax like this, but it is well done, and if it is real, it's probably one of the most compelling pieces of ghostly evidence in existence. Next, we have the closet entity. A TikToker by the name of DM Wesley posted several videos documenting his experiences with some sort of entity in his apartment. He had moved into the building in August of 2022 and began hearing a loud banging sound coming from his closet. In this video, the loud bangs are super aggressive. It sounds like someone is in the closet and ain't happy about being there. Our cameraman gets up, walks over to the closet, and abruptly opens it, only to reveal, of course, there's nothing there. It sounds like he's been through this on many occasions because he sounds more fed up than scared. I would definitely not have the courage to just swing the closet door open like that. If I'd heard a couple of knocks, sure, but loud, persistent banging like that, forget it. Next up, we have a story posted to Reddit by user Sal's Pizzeria. I wonder where this apartment story comes from. It's New York, in case you didn't guess. It goes as follows. I used to live in an old apartment and tried to shrug off all the creepy sounds and motions I thought I was experiencing. I'd dismiss everything as wind, creaky floors, creaky building, or something off in the distance. One day I heard a faint knock on my door. Opened the door, nobody there. No footsteps heard in the nearby staircase, and there was no place for a person to hide. Other two apartments next to me had no residents. I was a little creeped out by it. Days later, I mentioned it to someone who lived a few floors below. She informed me that years before, a person had gone up to the apartment door, knocked, and then fell over, dead from a heart attack. It was believed that the man had chest pains and was seeking help, but all he could do was knock on the door. Every time there was a knock, even with people there waiting to enter, I got an uneasy feeling. Glad I'm not there anymore. I would be too. Sticking with the New York theme, we have the 14 West 10th Street apartment in New York City. This is said to be one of the most haunted apartment buildings in Manhattan. Constructed in the late 19th century, this building has quite the history. One of the most famous stories involves Mark Twain, who supposedly resided in the apartment and is said to haunt the premises. Some residents say they've seen his apparition moving throughout the building, and he did live there towards the end of his life, although he didn't actually die there. So if ghosts are a thing, I'm guessing it's the spirit of a different old man. There are said to be about 22 ghosts who reside there. For example, a lady in white. There's also, there's always a lady in white, isn't there? A kid accompanied by a gray cat, and the spirit of a young girl who died there at the hands of her father, former New York criminal defense attorney Joel Steinberg, just to name a few. At number 5, we have the Dakota apartment complex, also in New York City. Finishing construction in 1884, the building has attracted a number of tales about paranormal activity over the years. One of the most famous stories revolves around the death of John Lennon, who resided in the Dakota before his tragic death in 1980. Many claim to have seen Lennon's ghost wandering the halls of the apartment. Other reported sightings include a young boy in outdated clothing playing in the courtyard and a woman dressed in 19th century clothing on the building's rooftop. Residents have reported unexplained noises. Of course, objects are always moving on their own and feelings that there's someone there watching them. Aside from all the ghost stories, the building also just looks like it would be haunted. It's got that gothic architectural style, which definitely gives it a bit of an eerie kind of vibe. This story was posted to Reddit, again by user Tier1Clean, who describes a paranormal experience they had when they were young in their apartment in Atlanta, Georgia. One night I woke up in the middle of the night around 2:30 a.m. because I got thirsty and had to pee. As I step out into the hallway, I see what I thought to be my mom's boyfriend sitting on the sofa watching TV. I approached him to ask what he was watching and got no response. Then I got closer and said it again with a little more authority in my voice because, in my mind, it's very rude to ignore someone talking to you. When I was standing about 2 feet away, I felt off and noticed that I still couldn't see his face or body even though the TV was on. I could only see a shadow silhouette. I froze because the air now felt heavy and it turned towards me. It let out a terrifying scream and flew down the hall towards the hall closet by my mom's room. I stood there in shock for about 20 seconds before I started crying and screaming. I woke up the entire apartment. My mom asked what happened and I told her. When I told her, the look on her face was not surprise, but a look of, "So you've seen it too." She tells me and my siblings that she felt a man standing over her bed at night, breathing on her. The boyfriend said on one of his off days he was shaving in the mirror and saw the shadow of someone standing in the shower. The next morning we immediately went to the renter's office. My mom had me tell the guy what I saw, and she was saying stuff like, "I've told you this apartment was weird," and whatnot. She was very heated. The guy then tells my mom that 6 months before we moved in, that the previous guy living there was killed during a home invasion. They stuffed his body into that hall closet and he wasn't found until 2 weeks later by maintenance people because of the smell of his body. Next up, we have the ghost caught on live stream. This next video is posted to YouTube by J-Rob and is a segment from a live stream. Things were totally normal until the group spotted something on one of their cameras. Pay close attention to Chris D's camera on the bottom left corner. Yeah, you could see this shadowy figure walk through the background, and it looks to have a humanoid form, but it does not look like a person. You see Chris kind of look behind him too after the thing moves by, as if he felt something swoosh by him. Clearly looks confused and freaked out. And then one of the friends, Junebug, is immediately like, "Was that a ghost?" It's worth watching the full clip because they replay it and their reactions are pretty entertaining. Now, technology isn't perfect, especially on webcams, and there's low lighting. It can cause glitches and weird illusions, but I gotta admit, I'd be pretty freaked out if I played back a live stream and saw some shadowy mass moving across my screen, especially because he felt it move. It wasn't just the camera acting up. Coming in at number 2, we have another story posted to Reddit by user KDKDKDKDS. It goes as follows. I lived in a basement apartment in Astoria that had a regular haunting. Apparently my ex swore she saw ghosts and would see an older man wandering around the back door, which opened to the back garden late at night. Most of the time he ignored her, but one night she woke up to him staring at her from the edge of the bed. She started to freak out and walked over to the back door and stood near it, then disappeared. When we woke up the next day, it turns out I had left the door unlocked. Anyway, later I heard that an older man had died there right before I moved in, and no one found him for weeks. So I guess that was him. The other thing that happened there was that right after I moved in, there was a terrible car accident that killed a female cab driver and a young woman who lived on the street. Some a-hole T-boned the cab as the younger woman was getting out, and she and the driver died. Anyway, same ex woke up in the middle of the night and she saw 2 faces near the ceiling glowing so you could see them in the darkness, looking sad. Then they vanished. We only learned about the accident when we went outside to get breakfast. She recognized the faces of the victims after seeing them on the news. And finally, I'm gonna tell my personal story now. So when I was living with this girl I was dating at the time, we'd have weird experiences in the apartment. Xbox would turn on and then turn off on its own on occasion. That happened a number of times. She would also hear loud banging sounds in the house occasionally. One time I was there and I was in the room and she was in the bathroom and she heard a loud bang coming from upstairs. Mind you, we're on the top floor, no one lives up there. And 3 pictures just fell off the wall and landed in like this perfect stack. I remember walking in and being like, oh, damn, they're like stacked up, which it could be a coincidence, but that's pretty weird. One of the other strange things, one day I just get a text from her. She'd been out, comes back in the apartment and sees a pan, like a cooking pan, just sitting in the middle of the kitchen, perfectly placed. And I remember being pretty confused about it. I was like, okay, well, did you have it sitting out? Did it fall? Nope, apparently it was in the cupboard. Somehow it just managed to get out, and none of the cupboard doors were open either. That's the other strange part. Now the weirdest thing, okay? We had this pillow that sat on the couch. It had a band logo on it, so it was very recognizable. It's one of our favorite pillows. One day this thing just goes missing. We looked everywhere for that thing. I thought maybe she took it down with her in the laundry or something like that. It got lost in the laundry room, but that wasn't the case. She definitely didn't take it. We looked everywhere, under the couch, every nook and cranny of that apartment. And I was like, damn, and we'd bring it up occasionally, like, damn, I missed that pillow. Really good pillow. Now months go by, like 2 or 3 months, okay? And I get a text from her with a picture. She's like, look what showed up. She had walked back in the apartment. She was out doing something, and there's the pillow sitting on the couch, like right where it would have been. And I was like, what? Now here's the thing. Is the apartment haunted? I don't know. I don't really believe in hauntings specifically, but what's the other explanation? Well, someone came into the apartment, took the pillow out, fiddled with stuff, and then brought it back 3 months later. Like, that doesn't make me feel any better. I don't know. What's worse, a ghost or someone just walking into the apartment and doing God knows what? Anyway, with all that said, I've been your host, James, and I'll catch you, yes, you specifically, in the next video.